Hey everyone, welcome back to the Love Collective podcast. Today we're talking about long distance relationships, what they are, can they even work, and how the distance affects a relationship. So we hope you enjoy listening. Welcome back to Love Collective. I'm Lisa.
I'm Cho.
And today we're talking about long distance relationships.
Scary thought, right? Very, very scary thought.
Have you been in one before, Cho?
To be honest, I don't think I have. But what I will say is that, and when I think of long distance relationships, I think of very serious, committed relationships. But I will say that I have dated people that were far away. When I was dipping it and doing it on Tinder, I had a list of guys that I was like talking to, and there was one guy from Detroit. Shout out to you if you're listening. That I really liked a lot, but we had never met. But we continued talking and chatting and getting to know each other, and he was just a really cool guy. Nothing ever really materialized further than that. But he would be the person I would consider someone that I had a long distance relationship with.
Interesting. So you never met in person?
We never met in person. He has my phone number though.
Oh my gosh.
I know, yeah.
I think I've been in a few different iterations of a long distance relationship. And I would agree that there's, we'll have to kind of try to figure out what we think even constitutes a long-term relationship, because the situations that I'm thinking about kind of were different levels of seriousness and commitment.
Right.
So let's see, what is a long-term relationship? I mean, I think I love that you consider someone that you never even met in person before a long distance relationship, because for you the feelings were real. I think as long as the feelings are real, doesn't it count?
Oh, definitely. I feel like, first of all, I mean, in our society right now, it's 2019. Everyone is using dating apps. Everyone's on Match.com. Everyone's on FarmersMeetingFarmers.com. Everyone is, experimenting with how you meet and connect to other people. And most of the times it involves connecting with people that you've never met before, like in person. And so in a way, everyone has experimented with at least the initial long distance relationship model. You're trying to get to know someone without having met them yet. And so, yeah, I think that one of the ways I would define long distance relationship is, as the name might suggest, if you have two people that are trying to build and or maintain a relationship that both parties are a long distance away from each other.
So there has to be feelings, maybe not even feelings. I don't know. I guess just distance.
I think just distance.
Distance and intentions. I mean, because what makes it a long-term relationship versus a long distance relationship versus a long distance friendship, right?
Right.
Okay, so I have a millennial confession to make. I have never used a dating app. The only gasps.
OMG.
The only time I've ever, I guess, used them is when I've used my friends, and I've just kind of messed around on theirs.
Wow, Lisa, I never knew this about you.
Yeah, I've never been on one. Have they been around a really long time?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, they've transformed and evolved from when they first came out. I mean, before we had apps, we had websites. I mean, Match.com is one of the oldest, or what is it called? OkCupid.
Okay.
Like there was always lots of websites where you could meet people, but then when you had the revolution of like the cell phone and mobile apps became a thing, of course, the market opened up so that you could have those Match.com, OkCupid, transform and evolve into dating apps.
Right. Okay.
Wow. So if anyone's out there that has never ever used a dating app, I need you to go to our Instagram page and comment a heart with like an arrow in it or something like that. I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy,
You need
Lisa.
to let us know so that I don't feel alone.
Yeah, let us know so Lisa does not feel alone.
I mean, they are such a statement and defining factor of our generation, though, right? I
They
mean,
are,
I
definitely.
think almost everyone I know, all of our friends use them or have
Oh
used
yeah.
them.
And just to let you guys know, obviously we're going to have a more in-depth discussion about dating apps in
Yeah.
a future
Oh,
episode because that's a whole episode in and of itself,
can you have
obviously.
an episode for like
But like, yeah,
an episode for like each one too, like one for Tinder, one for Grinder, one for Farmers Only. Like
yes,
we really do our research about these.
we do. They each deserve its own episode, honestly.
Absolutely.
Due diligence. So back to the definition. I do want to say before we get into a longer discussion about this episode is that we're going to be taking a lot of our points and discussion topics from an article that Lisa found earlier this week. It's called Long Distance Relationship Statistics May Surprise You by Kim P. And so one way that they define a long distance relationship is that most people consider, and in quotation marks, most people consider 125 miles or more apart a long distance relationship. Of course, there are differing opinions on this. If you can't see your partner daily or a few times a week, it's also considered long distance.
Okay, so 125 miles, is that like 2 hours away?
I have no idea. I'm going to Google it right now.
Yeah, I can't do that math.
125 miles away. How many hours is that?
Is
It's,
that what
it's,
you
this is why you use Google. And this is, it's, listen, and I just found the
That's
answer
actually what
now.
you
Um, it's 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 8 seconds.
Googled? Oh my gosh, I was so close.
You were actually very close.
And I love that Google has an answer for that. Okay.
Obviously. But one thing that's interesting that he says is that if you can't see your partner daily or a few times a week, it's considered long distance. So that kind of opens the door for people who may even live in the same city. Now, I do have a close friend of mine that um, she dated a guy that lived in the same city, and he didn't really find a lot of time to commit to her during the week. And so she told me, she's like, Joe, I feel like I'm in a long distance relationship. And it's not a good feeling. She didn't use the term as a positive one because she felt like, if you're living close proximity wise, there shouldn't really be too much of an excuse to not see them every
Hmm.
week.
Yeah, that boils down maybe more to how committed is it?
Right.
Even if you're living in the same city and you only see him once a week, are you exclusive? Are you not exclusive?
Right.
But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I can kind of identify with the person who, on the other end of that. I mean, I really cherish my time, with my partner, but I also, before we were living together,
Mm-hmm.
very much loved my alone time. And it was like
Right.
seeing him was extra special and exciting because we kind of had our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
things going on. So I don't really know how often we saw each other, before we lived together, but yeah, that's not a good feeling if you're not on the same page about
Of
when you
course.
see each other or how often.
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes. I guess that's long distance. I mean, that's you'd probably only see them maybe every other week, you know?
Yeah. I mean, especially when you consider